Good morning, South Rock. Welcome back to Weekly Devotions. This is the story. This is chapter 4. We're in the story of Moses and the story of the Exodus. Now, there is a lot we can take from this story that is applicable to our lives in the New Testament, a New Testament faith in Jesus. So much so that I really had to narrow it down, and I went with the story of the parting of the Red Sea. And here's why. So, to explain, the parting of the Red Sea happens in this chapter where Moses and the Israelites are being chased by the Egyptians. And they come to the Red Sea. Moses lifts his arms. God separates the sea, and they walk on dry land with walls of water either side of them to escape into the wilderness. Now, the Egyptians follow through this tract of land through the sea, but God makes the sea swallow them up, and their chasers, their pursuers, are swallowed up by the sea, and they're safe in the wilderness now to follow God through the wilderness through a pillar of smoke or a pillar of fire by night. So that's kind of a very brief and quick explanation of what this escape through the Red Sea is. Now, here's why I like this. It is so indicative of our own faith, isn't it? We, in our lives, are being chased by our captors. We're being chased by our enslavers, because that's what the world is. We're being chased by a world of slavery. But Jesus has this freedom that we can come to. We have this freedom in Christ, and all we have to do is pass through the water. Baptism. That's basically, it's a free gift, and we receive this free gift through baptism, and we have this freedom. And we talk about this in Galatians a lot. If you follow Crosstalk, something Nick and I do weekly, it's a long-form Bible study. But we've been talking about freedom in Christ, because that's kind of the story of Galatians. And that's what we get through this. We get freedom from captivity. And that's what the Israelites are after. They're going through the water to get away from their captors, to get away from slavery. And that's what following Jesus into baptism does for us. Now, the similarities don't stop there. The Israelites go into the wilderness. They're not in the promised land. They're not in paradise yet. They're in the wilderness, and they have to wander around, but they have to follow God still. Again, how indicative of our own faith is this? We are not in heaven. We're not in paradise when we are saved and free in Christ. We're still in the wilderness. We're still in the world. We still have to follow God until we enter into the promised land, till we enter into eternity, paradise, and so on. And so this is so telling of our own faith, but also how the Israelites react to wandering and having to follow God through this can really tell us something about ourselves. How often do we grumble about the world? How often do we whine that God has given us certain circumstances, or God has done certain things to us, or people around us, that we go, why are we doing this? Why are we still in the desert and not in this promised land yet? And so my question is about that. We're in a world in 2021 where things can be hard. Things have been hard. Are you grumbling? Or are you trying to follow the pillar of smoke or fire? Next week, next chapter, we'll talk about what it's like when people stop following that pillar. They start following their own idols. And what that looks like is you don't enter into the promised land when that happens. And so who are you following in the wilderness right now? Are you following God, or are you following your own idols, your own leaders, your own self-image, whatever that is? So that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a good rest of your week.